Hi, welcome to another SEO Hangout with Josh Bachynski. That is myself, and it is the second week of SEO-MAS. Ho, 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 Merry SEO-MAS. So this is the second week of SEO-MAS, and as promised, I'll have a free SEO-MAS gift for you this week. So watch for that later on in my rant. I'll slip in the gift in there so I can rant around it. It'll be a rant sandwich with a gift in the middle. So the free gift for the second week of SEO-MAS is going to be later on the show. And this week, I am super excited. I have absolutely crazy leaks for you this week. Google has been cranking out the leak machine, and they had a crazy hangout, and they leaked some insane information. I know I say that almost every week. I'm not usually that emphatic, but this week I am because it really is a crazy leak. So I'm going to get right to it, so pay close attention. So a few little SEO quickies, then I'll get right to the crazy leaks. Okay, so the first little SEO quickie is, don't forget, you know how WordPress has these archive pages and these tag pages? And sometimes people say don't worry about them, sometimes people say worry about them. Basically, Google originally said that they weren't an issue, that on-topic dupe content wasn't an issue, and it was off-domain dupe content what was the issue, because they might make you look like a scraper site. They recently actually went back on that, and I don't know if they made some changes recently to the algorithms, but they said that tag pages and archive pages are a quality issue, that they are a trust issue. So if you can get rid of the tag pages and the quality of the archive pages on your WordPress installation, do so. And you really should be able to in 5 seconds, because it's an easy thing just to change in WordPress. Again, if it's a huge change, if it's a huge issue for you to deal with it, don't worry about it. But if you can get rid of it, do so, because it apparently is a trust issue, and it is making Google choose what pages they're going to rank anyway. So it can be an issue. Okay, the next part to talk about is on November 18th there was another leak from the Google Raters document. This is, in fact, a particular part of the Google Raters document was leaked. It's called "Your Money or Your Life," quote unquote. And no, they're not Google is not holding us up for money, although a lot of people would argue contrary to that. No, what it has to do with is types of pages that advise you on your health, or types of pages that take money from you, that are selling products. These are very important pages as far as Google is concerned, and it's in their Google's Raters document to put those pages under special scrutiny and stronger rules. And so a lot of people believe that if it's in the Google's Raters document, that they probably have algorithms to detect it. And this sounds an awful lot like what Panda looks for as well. And they had some actual concrete things that you should look for that you should worry about regarding these pages. And so in case there's an algorithm looking for these kinds of things, I'm going to mention them, and this might help you with some Panda quality issues. So here's what they are. The first thing is you need updated information. You need to let the web surfer on the page know that the information on your page is updated and current and up to date. So you need to supply date signals, like an updated last, quote unquote, on the bottom of the page, last updated November 12th, or last updated, September 2004. That would be bad. That would tell them that it hasn't been updated in a long time. And or I like to use, of course, the date in the title. It's always great to have whatever, Buy Red Apples or Red Apples Review 2013, or now 2014 actually, so that the person going to that page knows that it's a current page and that the information on it is up to date. The next thing you want to make sure you're doing for these kinds of pages that are under a stricter kind of requirement that has to do with people's livelihood and or their money is that you can have doctors on it. It does not hurt if you can do it. It never hurts to have an MD's or a doctor, even a PhD if you have to stoop to that low. Depending on the subject matter, of course, a PhD may be more appropriate. But it never hurts to have their testimonial and to have their direct recommendation. So make sure that's on there. It might not help for algorithmic, because I asked John Mueller once if they have an algorithm to detect if there's an MD on it. He said that's stupid, that'd be ridiculous, because anyone could just say so-and-so MD, and then the algorithm would think, oh, it's endorsed by an MD. but it does help with manual reviewers, and manual reviewers do come onto these pages and do take a look. So that's something that you have to watch out for and worry about. Okay, the next one is very good contact us information. Both what I'm going to mention later on, John Mueller has mentioned this specifically, and also was mentioned specifically in this Raiders document at length. So you want to make sure that you have very good contact us information, not only on the page, but you want to have very good contact us information either on that page, on every page, very distinct contact us information, because that's a very clear signal, and I do think an algorithm is looking for this, quite possibly Panda is looking for this, so they know that you're a reputable business, and they know that people can contact you if they have problems or issues. So it either, and this has been specifically mentioned by John Mueller, so it has to be either on every page you have very clear contact us information, or on a very clear contact us page, a very long verbose contact us page where you have the address, the phone number, and a form. Not just a form, because that could be, you know, who knows who could be running this. You have to kind of verify and vouch for that contact us information. And make sure the contact us page is linked to from a good chunk of the site in the main navigation so they can get to that. And finally, another important thing that they really go for, and again, I'm going to mention this later on, John Mueller and Pierre Farr are going to harp on this later on, but modern design. I cannot stress how important it is to have a modern looking design, and how this has been mentioned again and again and again by Google. And I personally believe that it either is very indirectly important for click-throughs and people bouncing from pages that look old, or they might even have a direct algorithm to look for modern design, considering how much importance they put on it and how much they mention it. Okay, so speaking of which, this is a perfect segue into what I thought was just a crazy leak. On November 18th, John Mueller and Pierre Farr, both Google employees, both on the Webmaster team, were nice enough to do site reviews. And it was on the Google Hangout that they released on November 18th. And this was a crazy hangout where they leaked crazy stuff. Usually when Pierre Farr gets in a hangout, I usually shudder because, in my personal opinion, I'm not so fond of Mr. Farr. You're welcome to come onto my hangout and debate me if you like, Pierre. But usually he's extremely cryptic, and he's very tight-lipped, and he's quite frankly rude. He's quite frankly rude. He doesn't seem to really care about whether webmasters are getting hit by these draconic Google penalties. And quite frankly, he's always will say things like, well, you shouldn't be doing this anyway. Just make the best site and it'll work. That's usually all he says. But this time, surprisingly, you know, hallelujah, it's SEO-MAS. The miracle of SEO-MAS got into him, and he said some actually very interesting and useful things for webmasters. So I'm going to get right to that, what they talked about. Basically, they had a complete leak on how they would do SEO. How SEO, according to John Mueller and Pierre Farr, are SEO according to Google. And they leaked exactly how you should be doing SEO. And it wasn't just the same whitewash stuff. It was actually useful stuff. So I'm going to get right to that. So basically, as far as Google is concerned for SEO, they ask 5 questions to start. And these are the main 5 questions. 1, is it crawlable? 2, is there text on that page that relates to the topic? Sounds pretty simple, but it's important for them still, because Google, at the end of the day, still is a text-based search engine, right? Sorry, I don't know if you've been noticing, but the spirit of SEO-MAS has been sneaking around the back of the video. I don't know if you can see him. So that's the spirit of SEO-MAS. If you see some kind of gargoyle or some kind of pig monkey, that is the spirit of SEO-MAS, who we call Matt Cutts. And if you see him, and you can point him out, there may be an extra SEO-MAS stocking gift for you in your SEO-MAS stocking. So anyway, so 1, make it crawlable. 2, make the text on the page. Sounds obvious, but some people don't do it. 3, it has to be quote-unquote high quality. These are the 5 questions they ask. 1, is it crawlable? 2, is the text on page? 3, is it high quality? 4, do you have an understandable site navigation structure? That's another big deal as far as they're concerned. And 5, is it usable? Those are the 5 questions that John Mueller and Pierre Farr would ask for optimal SEO. I'll repeat them. 1, is it crawlable? 2, is there text? Is the text you want to rank for on that page somewhere? Duh. But not too much, because point number 3 is is it high quality? Is it a high quality page? 4, do you have an understandable site nav structure? And 5, is it usable? Notice very interestingly, number 3, I can't count, and number 5 are different issues as far as they're concerned. Is it a high quality page? And how good is your usability is a different issue as far as they're concerned. I found that extremely fascinating, and I'll get to the reasons why in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to go through each of these specifically. 1 is it crawlable? That's obvious. Make sure the robot can get to it. Okay, fine. Number 2, there's nothing else there. You don't have to worry about validation. There's nothing else the matter there. Just make sure your server responds and that they can crawl it. Done. Number 2 is where we start to get interesting. And number 2 is this kind of stuff here. Let me move my movie over here so I can watch how my stupid face looks as I read. Okay. Okay. So number 2 is the text on the page is the issue. And first off is they started with title tags. So the title tags are very important. So here's what you want to look for title tags. It's not 2007 anymore. It's not all about whether or not you've stuffed as many keywords in your title tag as possible. Don't do that. Here's the most important things for title tags. And I've been saying this for over a year now, for about a year now in my Hangouts, reporting what they've been talking about. But they did go into a little bit more depth, and so I'll mention it again. 1, you want to avoid non-descriptive title tags. So you want your title tags to be descriptive for what's on that page, and you do not want them to be stuffed. You do not want stuffed title tags. Also, you want to avoid redundancy in the title tag. You want to make sure that the word home does not appear in the title tag, and you probably want to avoid your brand name or duplicate title tags as well. Now, I disagree with them a little bit on this. Sometimes it's good to have your brand name in there when it's going to help it stick in people's head that you are, you know, again, my Red Apples example, if I'm selling red apples and I have redapples.com and we're the premier site for selling red apples, my title tag could be something like, wow, get the best red apples here in 2013-redapples.com. That might make sense if I can fit it in, but otherwise, if you can't, you want to make sure you get your main keywords in there. It's mostly a click-through rate issue. It is mostly a CTR issue. This is directly point-blank admitted by them. It is mostly a click-through rate issue. You want to make sure you have good click-through rate, that your title tags are enticing, that people want to click them. So you want a good call to action, and you want to make sure that it's enticing, that it sounds interesting, and you get good call to action so people click on it. That is the most important thing. And there's 2 main issues other than that you have to worry about. 1, you have to make sure that your main key phrase is in there. Not all 5 things you want to rank for, only 1. So again, in my Red Apples example, I want the keyword red apples to be in the key phrase red apples to be in there. Or get the best red apples, or buy red apples. That's what I want in there. I don't want to do buy red apples, pipe best red apples, pipe Red Apples review. That is not what you want to do. If your title tags look like that, change them to pick your most important one and go with it, because Google is just going to rewrite your title tags anyway. And they don't really look at the title tags as a main ranking factor. It is a bit of a ranking factor, but it's much more important to get good click-through. If you don't, I guarantee you're going to have trouble ranking. Okay, that was a great leak. Thank you very much, John Mueller and Pierre Farr. Here's the next one. So rich snippets was their next thing to talk about. This one was very interesting. They have 3 things you have to worry about for rich snippets. 1, and I've never heard them say this before, 1, you have to have, quote-unquote, the best possible website. What? If you want your rich snippets to show up, you have to, this is straight from John Mueller and Pierre Farr, you have to have the best possible website. So that means that quality and trust is a factor for rich snippets. And they said, and I quote, they will do, quote-unquote, quality checks, and they will not display the rich snippets if, I quote, they do not trust the markup, end quote. So that was a crazy leak. So if you're having trouble getting rich snippets to show up, they do quality checks, and you need the best quality website possible, or web page possible. If it looks like a spammy page, you might have trouble getting your rich snippets to show up. Number 2, in terms of rich snippets. Number 2, piece of advice from John Mueller and Pierre Farr, is that you have to follow the guidelines / you have to use supported schema. Not all of the micro formats that are out there are supported. So you have to use the supported rich snippets. For example, you can't have review rich snippets in the footer. You can't just put in the footer that this site has 4 stars and put the schema there. It has to be, you have to associate the rich snippet with something on the page, quote unquote. And I quote Pierre Farr, you have to associate the rich snippet with something on the page, ... the primary element, quote unquote. So you can't just stick the rich snippet in the sidebar in the footer and hope that it's going to work. Sometimes it does. I've seen people put the author snippet down there and it worked, but it doesn't always work, especially if you have a page quality problem. And finally, number 3, for rich snippets, number 3, where's the camera? There we go, 3. If you have quote-unquote broken or misused or removed the rich snippets, and so they've removed the rich snippets because you broke them, i.e. you were trying to spam them or you're sticking it in somewhere, you have to do 2 things. You have to fix it, and then you have to ping them so they come back. So there's a feedback form for rich snippets on the rich snippet team. Just Google rich snippet feedback form. You should be able to find it. You have to fix the problem, and then you have to go to the feedback form, say, I fixed the problem, please come back. It's like almost doing a reconsideration request for rich snippets. And then they will come back. And Pierre Farr implied that they would take a look, either an algorithm would take a look or they would manually take a look. So if you had rich snippets showing up and then they didn't show up anymore, or you've never been able to get them to show up, you have to fix it, do it according to their code, according to spec, and go to the feedback form and ping them, and they will come back and take a look, and you might be able to get your rich snippets back. Okay, the next crazy leaks from this crazy hangout from Pierre Farr and John Mueller. Finally, and we're still in topic 2 for the on-page stuff, and this is essentially the essence of on-page. It's the content on-page, and here's the suggestions for content on-page. Basically, they admitted Google is still text-based. Despite all of the changes to their spider they've made, despite all of the advancements and enhancements they've made to their Google is still a text-based search engine. So you still have to have, it's still text-based, this is still the main issue. You have to still have descriptive URLs, descriptive titles, and descriptive H1s. And you have to describe what the page is about. That is the most important thing. They do not want you to, and I can guarantee and I can verify it does not work so well anymore, to stuff your page with search phrases, right? So for my Red Apples example, I don't want to, if this is my page, I want people to buy Red Apples, and it's my page I want to rank for buy Red Apples. I do not want to have buy Red Apples, buy Red Apples, buy Red Apples all over the place. I want to say get the best Red Apples here. You can buy Red Apples here. I can say it once or twice, but I want to say get Red Apples or purchase Red Apples here. And they know very well this is the buy Red Apples page, and they will rank me for buy Red Apples if I say get the best Red Apples here, or you can purchase Red Apples here. So that's descriptive. You can purchase Red Apples here. This is the purchase Red Apples page. That's describing what that page is all about. And that's what you want to do. You don't necessarily want to stuff it with buy Red Apples. You can put it here or there, but you don't want to say buy Red Apples 50 times on that page. So that's describing what the page is about and what users can expect to find there. And if you want to make sure that that's what you're doing, there's 2 ways you can check. One, you can go to the keyword planner and you can put in that URL of that exact subpage in the keyword planner and see what keywords it comes up for. That's what that page should rank for in the keyword planner. They still have it, the old tool from the keyword tool. The keyword planner still has it, the AdWords keyword planner. And you can put the URL in there, and it'll tell you what that page should be ranking for. And it's very interesting. 90% of the time, Google gets it right, but not always. The other thing you can do is do a site : search to get that page showing up in Google, and then check in the little drop down, check the cached page, and check text only. And you should see your main keywords showing up more or less above the fold. This is straight from John Mueller. If you don't see your main keywords in the text-only version of the cached version of what Google has cached for your page, that's a problem, he says. if you have all this other stuff and all this other crud going on, and your main keywords of what you want that page to show up for does not show up in the top 500 pixels or the top above the fold, that's a problem. And that's coming straight from John Mueller. Okay, the last thing he talked about that I'm going to talk about today that was just crazy, this is the craziest leak so far, was number 3 in their checklist of things to watch out for, their checklist of 5, was high quality. Is your page high quality? What does that mean? Well, I couldn't believe it, but John Mueller and Pierre Farr went to extreme specification as to what exactly they mean a high quality page is. So pay very close attention because they got very specific as to what this is, and it's a godsend. So pay very close attention. So for example, they said to start off with that the content has to be quote unquote trustworthy to the end user. The word of the day for them was trustworthy. They said things like, quote unquote, if the users don't like it, that's bad. So we know for a fact that it's user-based. They said, and I quote, if the users don't see that it's a good page, end quote. So we know that it's user-based in terms of their trustworthiness, and they know that it's organic user-based if people are bouncing from it. Basically, they said, and I quote, looks equals trust, so it must be, quote unquote, it must look professional. They said again and again that you have to show users a high quality design. Point blank, and I'm quoting mostly the adjectives and things I'm saying, I'm mostly quoting them for what they said. So they said looks equal trust, and it must look professional, and you must show users a high quality design. So this is very interesting. Again, as I said previously, and other leaks have said again, they're saying again and again that it has to do with the usage metrics, and the way that this page looks is super important. So not only does it seem to be an indirect factor if people are bouncing off this page and going back to Google and clicking on the result, that is a huge issue. You have to stop that from happening. But they keep saying it has to look professional, it has to be a modern design, and do not underestimate how important that is. Again and again, they kept saying it. So if you haven't invested in a modern design, I would very seriously consider it, because I would not at all be surprised if they have an algorithm specifically dedicated to looking for modern design. Because it makes sense, because they only want to show users the best possible websites in their rankings. So they're pushing webmasters to have the best possible design, and they're tracking it through usage metrics, and they track everything. What else did they talk about? Well, they said the old standby that you can look at Emit Signal's blog post with the 23 items from 3 years ago, and that you have to aim to be better by far. No pun intended, because Pierre Farr is the one who was there who said it. You have to aim to be better. Sorry. Some SEO-MAS humor for you. You have to aim to be better by your competitors by far. You have to, and they see it in the SERP bounce rate. They did mention they see it in the SERP bounce rate. They must see changes. They have to see that you are better than your competitors by far. Your bounce rate is way lower. Way less people go to your site and bounce back. Way more people go to your site from the SERPs and stay there and get satisfied and stop searching altogether for whatever that is. You have to terminate the searcher search. You have to terminate what it is. You have to answer the question they want for the information they want. You have to give them the price they want. You have to give them the sign-up form or whatever it is they want to do. You have to give it to them, the fastest, above 500 pixels, with a nice design that is not too convoluted, not too confusing for them to use. They can understand how to do it, and it's not too slow. And a modern-looking design, again, they said it again and again, doesn't hurt, and you would be surprised, and do not underestimate how important it is. And the last thing that they said, basically, is you have to make one site is important. Bigger is better. The bigger the site you can make, the more internal link juice that you have, and they like bigger sites, and they said end users like bigger sites and more official sites, so not to underestimate that as well. So to sum up, and then get to my free gift for this week, week 2 of SEO-MAS, looks equals trust equals user metrics. All those things are important. Do not underestimate how important the look of the site is. And I have a quotation, I have 2 quotes from them here. Quote 1, when users are searching, they really want high quality websites, end quote. That is a direct quote from John Mueller and Pierre Farr. When users are searching, they really want high quality websites. So, and that, as far as they're concerned, is the look. of the website. It has to be modern looking, has to look sleek, has to look new, has to look modern, and they have to find what they want within like literally under 2 seconds. And another quote directly from them, just to sell this point home, just to drive this point home, quote, "There's more to a website than just text," end quote. My jaw nearly hit the floor when, I think it was Pierre Farr who said this, because they've never been so blunt about, look guys, you have to have a modern design. He said, and I quote, "There's more to a website than just text," end quote. And for anyone who's been following SEO for any number of years, you know that that's a jaw-dropping admission from Google to make. So there's 3 final points that they made when it comes to high quality. 1, it has to be unique and non-duplicated. This is a trust factor. If you have any duplication, it's lower trust. 2, it has to be compelling. This means that you have to have lower bounds than everyone else. You have to have the good quality links pointing to you. You have to have social pointing to each page. You have to have return visitors. These are things that they mentioned specifically. Of course, they're a little bit more vague about it, but these are things that they all mentioned that would be a good indication of compelling. And 3, finally, it has to be high quality content. It has to be a good modern design, has to have less ads than design. It has to be good descriptive, engaging, digestible text. It has an updated date. You have to have pictures on it. It has to be relevant to what people want to see, and it has to have an interesting, or it doesn't hurt to have interesting video. As long as people are watching the video, you have to watch your usage metrics, and that the video is answering a question. Okay, so thanks for paying attention to all that. And as I promised, it is the second week of SEO-MAS, and on the second week of SEO-MAS, Josh gave to you a free link analysis. That's right. For the second week of SEO-MAS and the second week of SEO-MAS only, or the entirety of SEO-MAS, because who knows when you'll see this video, but for SEO-MAS, the 5 weeks of SEO-MAS in 2013, I will give you a free link analysis. That's right, if you send me your URL, I will analyze your links for free, and I'll tell you if I think they're good links or bad links, or if they're suspect. I won't just run it through Link Detox and give you the report. I will actually do this. I will run it through my link analysis program, which is also built by Kemper. It's the backlink profile tool by Kemper. But then I run it through my own Excel program, and I take a look at things. And I will tell you if I think it's suspect, if it looks risky to me, if you're in some trouble, or if it looks like you have some good links, and what you should be adding and what kind of things you should be adding. So that's right. Free for SEO-MAS, like free SEO-MAS gift for you. I will give you a free link analysis, and I might get like 2,000 people. I get a lot of people who watch my videos, so I might get like 2,000 people email me. So please be patient. This might be the worst idea I ever had, and a lot of people might contact me. I might get buried, and you'll never see me again. And who knows? The ghost of SEO-MAS you've been seeing lurking behind me, he may have to do the next Josh SEO rant. So you never know. He might show up. Matt Cutts, the ghost of SEO-MAS. But anyway, that's what I'm giving for SEO-MAS for week 2 of SEO-MAS. I'll give a free link analysis. And just send me your site, and we'll talk. It'll be great. So good luck in the SERPs. Happy SEO-MAS, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.